check.
Jeff, will you turn on your mic? We'll call the meeting to order. And the first thing we're going to do is have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next thing we'll do, we'll call for the meeting policy.
The agenda is printed or amended will be followed, so all necessary and needed actions by the commission will be addressed. The agenda can be amended by proper motion. Business from the floor is welcome and is allotted for on our agenda. When comments from the floor are made, you must first be recognized by the chair. Second, state your name and address for the record. And third, you'll have 3 minutes to state your comment or concern. Copies of the agenda and other handouts are available on the back table. Please sign in and turn cell phones off.
Next thing we'll have the clerk read the roll call.
Dale Ames,
Here.
Jeff Pelon,
Present.
Kelly Piero,
Here.
Barry Wagner,
Here.
Walter Cleef, Kristen Moen,
Here.
Harold Jorgensen,
Here.
John Sedela,
Here.
Liz Stockman,
Here.
Okay. The next thing we'll have to approve or amend tonight's meeting agenda for June 27, 2007. Somebody like to make this motion? I so move. Anybody second it?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing there's no discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next thing we're going to do is approve or amend the May 30th, 2017 Planning and Zoning meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Moen made the motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Commissioner Pearl seconded. Any discussion? See no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is floor items. We have quite a few of them here. Clayton Connell.
Clayton Conley.
Conley.
Would you please step to the podium and then give your address, please, as well as your name?
Clayton Conley, 9030 184th Avenue Northwest.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'm here to speak in reference to the proposed redevelopment, rezoning area near Baugh. I don't know what the intersection is. Doesn't matter. 181st, yep. Basically, what grabs my eye is the request is to spur development within the city. Well, from my knowledge, I'm a 5-year resident. I came in here knowing the 2009 comprehensive plan, now looking at the 2030 comprehensive plan, which I'm sure everybody on the board's aware of. In nowhere does it fit the goals and policies of the city and where it's headed. And there's plenty of commercial. We don't need commercial down there. As a person that had 20 years experience in law enforcement, all it does is bring crap, especially when you put it in an independent substation of the city and you're going to butt it up to residential. It's Burnside Trails there for much of the area and Bailey Estates, horse community, and we love it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't match any of the stuff that I see in the comprehensive plan, and that's already zoned commercial and available. And I'll end with, I just looked last week, I got a solution, Elk River Star News. There's a property for sale on Highway 47 and 22, and it's even cheaper. Sorry, Kelly, it's being advertised by somebody else, but it is what it is. Well, Kelly got us into the place we're in, so we're thankful for that. We're happy to be here, happy to be residents, but in my opinion, this ain't the way to go. That's it.
And just bring, we're gonna, this applies to the public hearing. If anybody else wants to talk at the public hearing, you're certainly welcome, but you wrote down here is the floor, because that's open to the public. You can speak up at the public hearing. So I don't know just how to handle this. If anybody else here wants to address the floor item, it doesn't refer to the public hearing, that's fine. If it refers to the public hearing, we'll wait until the public hearing, then you can speak up.
We speak about.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to
Yes.
address that any further?
Yes, Mayor Gillum.
So what Dale is saying is that if you're here because of the item on the agenda for the potential comp plan amendment of 181st and Baugh, there's a public hearing tonight which will follow this floor items. This is for any general floor items that you might want to bring up to the Planning Commission. If you specifically want to address that, then you can do that during the public hearing. We'll ask you to come to the podium, give your name and address. Generally, if people are saying the same things over and over again, we try and get to the point, have one person speak for that. And if there's pros and cons, we try and alternate, so that everybody gets a chance to, if you're for it or against it, you get a chance to get up and speak. But that will be part of the public hearing, and everybody who wants to speak at that will have an opportunity. But this is for floor items for general matters other than that, if you have anything. So if people are on the list for that, that's what they really wanted, was to speak at the public hearing. You don't have to get up at this point.
So if there's anybody who wants to address the committee, it's on this list. And you can speak at this time, otherwise wait until the public hearing. If that's what you're going to speak up at the public hearing for. Because I know I have quite a few people listed here. Okay, if everybody wants to address at the public hearing, that's fine. We'll open the public hearing then. And at this time, we'll give the description of the property. That's up for planner.
Okay. I will read the description, Mr. Chair. This is a joint request by Grant Rademacher and Kent Raisler to amend the city's 2030 comprehensive land use plan by changing 41 acres from permanent rural residential to commercial light manufacturing. That's the land use designation. The request also involves rezoning the same property from RRA, rural residential agriculture, to some combination of commercial and industrial. So it involves two parcels at the present time. There's a 28.13 acre piece that abuts Baugh and 181st. The 40 acres just north of it, there's about 13 acres of that piece, which would be included in the change. The remaining land in that parcel would remain the same at the low-density residential. I'm the city planner with the city, and I'm just going to give you a little background. The 2030 land use plan, which is in place right now, was adopted in 2009. So that is our present guide for the city. The request is to change that map by Mr. Raisler and Mr. Rademacher to accommodate some future development. The city is also working on a 2040 land use plan, as Met Council mandates us to do every 10 years. So in 2017 and 2018, we are also working on updating the land use plan, as well as all of our other maps, transportation plan, etc. So the comprehensive plan amendment is a long process. Tonight is just the beginning of that process. If the planning and zoning were to recommend that this go to, basically recommend approval and that it go to council, the council would direct staff to prepare the actual amendment itself, which goes to Met Council for review. And then there's also 60-day required review by all the adjacent municipalities, school districts, watershed districts. So that's typically, we're already probably 70 to 80 days out from today, based on just that. If it gets that far, if Met Council approves it, it has to come back to the city council for the final adoption. So it's a really long process, and that doesn't even include subdivision of the land, and then finally development at a later date. Now, I know some of you are here because you're upset and you did not receive a letter. There was an error on the city's part that not all property owners were notified. The requirement is that people within 1,320 feet of those boundaries, those two PIDs or properties, are to receive letters. So my recommendation tonight, and that of the city attorney, would be to continue this public hearing until next month, and then we will resend letters to all the neighborhoods surrounding this land. So everybody has a fair shot at sharing their views, concerns, whatever it may be. So if you did not get a letter, please make sure your name is on the list by the table at the door, and we will certainly share the information, and we can all gather again next month. And then from a staff perspective, there was a little bit of confusion about what spot zoning is. There were some members of the commission that felt, or that thought spot zoning was actually part of our city code, and so by doing so would violate our ordinance. But spot zoning is actually a planning technique, or lack thereof, I guess. So not to be confused with an ordinance requirement that would be mandatory. So basically, spot zoning is done when there's not a logical and sort of sound reasons why we're moving forward with these land use changes. So a city really should look at the bigger picture and create a zone, a zoning district, more so than just allowing individual property owners to mandate what happens to their land, how it's used as far as land use and how it's zoned. So the city as a whole decides on how that 2040 land use plan looks, or how our current land use plan looks. And the two applicants have requested a change to that. The number one rule in land use changes is we say likeness and compatibility. So if you're either locating next to a like use or you're compatible with the adjacent use. And one of the things we have in our ordinance that is a regulation is that any commercial districts or industrial districts have to have a buffer surrounding them if they're located next to residential, existing residential, or planned residential. So you can watch for that factor as this progresses, as far as what some of the development requirements might be. I guess at this point, I will just say that, again, my recommendation and that of the city attorney would be to continue this public hearing until the July meeting. We will resend letters, and the chair would still open the public hearing and allow all of you to come up, and you'll be on the record tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, just so you understand that, we're still gonna conduct this part of the public hearing, so you'll have the opportunity to express what you want to say. Does the applicant have anything to say? Is Mr. Rademacher or Mr. Ressler here?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot to state Mr. Raisler opted not to be present He was informed earlier in today of my potential recommendation, so he was initially gonna be late and then just decided to wait until next month. Mr. Rademacher is here for a couple different reasons.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Roderbach?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask the clerk to verify legal publications and mailings and postings. Had it incompleted,
No.
I think we just did that.
Yeah.
yeah. As it's just stated, not everything's been sent, so that's why we have to, one of the reasons why we have to table.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
was that just some residents in Nowthen that were not notified, or was it also Elk River and,
Okay, Commissioner Wagner,
Ramsey.
I'll let the clerk.
It was a little bit of both.
a little bit of both?
Yeah. It was 1,320 feet from the PIN number, but not both PIN numbers.
Okay.
That's why some people received letters and others did not.
And of course, Elk River is a different county, so we would extend our, notice to Elk River and Ramsey, so
They weren't at this time?
they were not.
They were not.
Okay, just so that is clarified now. At this time, we'll now hear from the public comments, like we had started out with the first guy that spoke there, but now it's open mic time for you to speak up for whatever you have to say about this public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
so we can presume that Mr. Conley's comments will be added as part of the public hearing then?
Yes, Mayor.
State them again.
Your comments will be added.
Thank you, and I apologize, I did try to.
Yeah, okay, it's okay.
the areas that I was
Well, you gotta come to the meetings more often so you know how they work.
Okay,
I
anybody
have to
else?
say, this is the most we've had in this room in quite some time, so. We do thank you for your patience and understanding. If I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mayor.
You know, when people come to a public hearing like this, quite often it's, something has agitated them one way or the other. They're really excited one way or the other. And it's new. You know, I'm here every week and I never see crowds like this. So I'm guessing that it's new for most of you. So we want everybody to take a breath, you know, and it is, as the planner was explaining, it's a deliberately long process because when the wheels of government turn too fast, it costs everybody money and opportunity. So we want to make sure that people are heard and feel part of the process. So you may be nervous when you get up to speak. Take your time, express yourself, be professional and dignified, and we'll all hopefully come to a good understanding at the end of this long process. But it is generally unnerving for people to come in front of a crowd like this and say something they're emotional about. So we want to welcome you to the process and understand nothing is going to be railroaded through. It'll be wide open, everything that's discussed and decided.
Okay, it's open for anybody who'd like to step up to the mic and make comments. Give your name and your address, please.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Dr. Mary Wolverton, resident of Nowthen for the last 12 years, my husband and I. We live at 18517 Kangaroo Street. To your comment earlier, Mayor, I'm very familiar with this process. I haven't attended your meetings, but I work in the Nowthen School District and have the great fortune of attending school board meetings every Monday night. So your process is very familiar to me. As you provide us with this opportunity, I think I have a number of questions that I think would be very helpful for not only my husband and I, but also for other residents that are impacted. One is that as you provided some information earlier, you talked a little bit about some working definitions on how you function and make decisions. When you discussed the work with the Met Council, I'm very familiar with those strategic plans. One that I think would be very helpful for citizens of Nowthen is to define the terminology of likeness. So when you talk about likeness, inform your citizens in relation to how Met Council defines likeness. I think that would be very helpful for us as well. And then I have a couple of questions, and I'm sure you'll address that maybe in this meeting or in future meetings. One is, with your current property that is zoned C1, is it at capacity? Do you have your currently C1 zone property fully utilized, or do you have C1 property that is not being utilized? So what is the identified need in our city for adding additional C1 zone property? Secondly, how is this recommendation or this request currently aligned with your 2030 strategic vision and your comprehensive plan? So how does this support the residents of Nowthen? And how is that strategically aligned to what it is you're considering with this recommendation? And I think the other thing that I would want to know is, in not only this request, but any other requests that may be an altercation or a modification to your 2030 plan, how is that aligned to your intended goals and outcomes for the city of Nowthen? What do we see as residents for attracting people to want to live in the city of Nowthen and make this a great place to be? When I think of just in our district or in the Elk River School District, and you reference that in the Met Council plan, two things really stand out for me. One is when I think of young families and who we want to attract to our city, and how we want that to look. I would be thinking about that in relation to your work with the school districts. In our school district, we just recently purchased 2 large pieces of property, one in Ramsey, right on County Road 5, and another one in Blaine. We'll go out to the voters in November to build 2 new schools of 1,000 students. I can tell you what played out once developers found out that we purchased that land. The land is all being bought up around it, and what we are doing, what we are hearing from the city planners in Ramsey and in Blaine, is that that is a great attraction to young families wanting to come and live around those new schools. So I think those are some of my questions and comments, and I really look forward to the next meeting, and I really thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
My name is Nick Wolverton. I live on 9470 187th Avenue Northwest. Kind of butt up against some of this property, the residential bit at least. I don't directly butt up against any of the commercial or the potential, I think, light industrial, I think is what we're going to be rezoning or possibly rezoning it to. And, you know, I moved out here, but I've only been in the lot for about 2 years, but I did grow up here for a while. My mother just spoke, so I lived there for a little bit. Lived in New Hope for a while, didn't like that, obviously, came out here, kind of for large lot size, mostly residential country. Like the other gentleman spoke, horse community, chickens, animals, all that. And, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with commercial or any development, but what we already have, we have a liquor store, gas station, a couple bars. I mean, I just think if there was gonna be some commercial development there, I think there's available lots already for sale, but if it'd be something other than a gas station and a liquor store, because that's not beneficial to the residents, I don't believe. We already have that. I'm opposed to it in general, but if there was to be rezoning, I would think it'd be something more beneficial to the community than a gas station and liquor store. Not much else to say that already hasn't been said about the plan. I also saw that before I moved in. I liked how it looked. There wasn't anything other than residential around my house. And yeah, looks like it might change, so that's kind of a concern as well.
Thank you.
Nothing else?
When you come up to speak, just try not to duplicate anything that's already been said, otherwise we'll be here all night. So you're welcome to come up and speak and express yourself.
I'm Heidi
Nowthen, and it's 9390 181st Avenue Northwest. So I'm right across the street in Ramsey. I was not notified about this. And I will just say to your comment that you just made about don't duplicate, I do think that everybody that's here should at least be put on record that they were here. And, you know, even if there's a duplication of their concerns, that's why they came. Otherwise, it's like, oh, 5 came. And I think you want to know exactly how many came and are concerned about our rezoning. We moved into Ramsey in 1990. We knew we were on a fast kind of thoroughfare from Elk River to Nowthen, but at the same time, in that corner, if I'm heading out of my driveway, if I'm turning to the west, in 2.5 miles, I'm making it into Elk River to get gas. I don't have to go that way. If I'm heading to the north, I'm going to hit gas right away. If I'm heading to the south, in fact, in both those directions, I'm going to hit gas or a liquor store right away. So I don't quite understand the need for having that there. And again, we moved in for the same purposes a long time ago, knowing that this area was going to grow, and it has. We've had wonderful neighbors that have moved in all the way around us, but it has stayed with the zoning that it is. And again, I'm the city of Ramsey, but at the same time, I am right across the street. And I would like to be notified. I also wanted to speak tonight because at the end of July, I will not be around, and I'm guessing that's when the next meeting is. So I will try to stick around if I can, but we'll see. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I might limit you to a couple minutes then if everybody wants to speak, so, next.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
If I could.
Mayor.
And just so everybody knows, if you aren't aware, we do record all of our meetings now. So the reason for the microphones, the camera in the back, these are available on YouTube. So if people would like to go back and revisit what was said or share that with somebody else, you can go on YouTube and find all of our city meetings. So as you do speak, if there's something you wanted to catch, it is available there. The official meeting minutes won't be approved for this meeting until next July at our next meeting, so.
My name is Dan Larson, I live at 9160 184th, I'm right across from it. I won't beat the gas station to death because that's already been brought up, I don't think anybody really wants that. What's kind of left there is kind of odd for just an industrial commercial, just crammed, you know, you got all residential and there's a little plot of industrial, just kind of an odd area to have it. And you got everything else up in this area that you can build. Another issue is land value or house values. I mean, we're going to be affected by this at the gas station, shining lights right across our street. You know, that's one of our concerns. We're directly across from it. And traffic-wise, you know, has this been thought of? I can tell you right now, I live by that road, and that stop sign there is a starting line for motorcycles and cars. And by the time you get to my house, it's about 100 miles an hour. So just so you guys are aware of that, it's like weekly. It's a racetrack as people go by there. So just be aware of that is a safety issue. And if there's people coming out of those commercial areas, industrial areas, you might be looking at some trouble there too. So just some of my concerns with that. So thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Brenda Neal. I live at 9500 187th Avenue Northwest in Nowthen. We built our house about 7 years ago in the Bailey Estates development, and we specifically moved there because it was a nice, quiet residential area. We wanted to raise our kids in a nice, quiet residential area. So we're concerned about this from the perspective of how much more noise it will bring to the area. And in addition, we have kids that get on the bus on Baugh. And bringing more traffic into that area for the commercial development it's already a safety issue because it's a very busy road, but bringing even more traffic would make it even more unsafe for our teenagers that are standing out on Baugh waiting for the bus and then getting off of the bus and having to cross that road to get over to our development to come home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Janice Triplin, 9063, 184th Avenue Northwest. Again, I'm right across the Bow Street from this proposed development. Call me naive, but has anybody thought about the wildlife I mean, there's deer, there are sandhill cranes, and all of that in that field, every fall, every spring, all year long. And the property values, our house, I mean, you're a realtor, ma'am. Kelly, I mean, you could advise us, I mean, is this gonna be detrimental to our property values?
At this time, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, because you know. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next.
And, Mr. Chair, just so we know, this is a public hearing for you to speak, and we're not asking the commissioners to weigh in at this point. After, if they choose to continue this, once the public hearing is closed, then the commissioners all weigh in, so I wouldn't expect either way any of the commissioners to answer any direct questions at this point. It's for you to speak and share your opinions, and their opinions will follow once the public hearing is closed, so.
Next.
Hi, my name is Brandon Ebert. I'm at 9157 Burns Parkway, exactly across from this proposed zone. I'm a northern Minnesota boy. I like the country. I moved here for the country. I like watching the northern lights. If you add business, industrial lights, I'm no longer going to be able to see the northern lights. When I sit on my deck, I can see the Elk River fireworks. I'm no longer going to see the Elk River fireworks. Is this a good fit for this neighborhood? Do you want to set a precedence of changing this zone? I don't think you do. I'm sorry, I'm very, very nervous here. One of the sales pitches I see is to help serve the growing residential on the east end of Elk River. Why is this not being proposed on the east end of Elk River? We are Nowthen. We are Anoka County. We are not Sherburne County. If you want to add a business industrial zone to Nowthen, the lower third of Nowthen is very well served by business industrial. You should probably start looking at the northern end of Nowthen to maybe create a business industrial zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Andrea Buechner, 9115 Burns Parkway. I live next to Brandon. I sit on Brandon's deck and watch those fireworks in Elk River. I would ditto about everything that everyone has said this evening. Today, as I was driving home with my children, I told them what my husband and I were doing tonight. And we were coming here because people wanted to develop and put a gas station and a liquor store across the street. And my 6-year-old son looked at me and said, "We'll live in town. We won't live in the country anymore." We moved to Nowthen to be in the country, right? What is our city motto? To me, by doing this, by changing the zoning, we must change our motto. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mike Carlson, 9248 187th Avenue. And my property is immediately to the north of the proposed rezoning. As a matter of fact, we have bought that property. And I want to bring 3 points forward that were mentioned at the beginning of the meeting for you to consider as you start to deliberate about this and we have more hearings. You said that the property and the change must have likeness. And I fail to see any likeness with putting a convenience store or a liquor store on this corner. There's no other like business anywhere near this. It has to be compatible. I don't see compatibility, just by the number of people that are here opposed to this. I don't think anybody in this room feels that this new business would be compatible with the neighborhood. Needs a buffer. There is a buffer, but then what are the chances of that buffer going away? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the ordinance. So I'm here obviously speaking against this, but I'm also here to remind you of your own words and your own requirements when you look at evaluating this application, and I hope that you will keep those in mind and not proceed with this. If I need a gas station, there's one right down here, 5 minutes away. I don't need one in my backyard. I can go to Elk River, that's another 5 minutes away. I don't know why the neighborhood or the community needs to have another gas station and a liquor store in their backyards. That is going to ruin the rural feel that we all moved out here for. Will bring more traffic, more lights, disturb the wildlife. I enjoy my backyard. I enjoy that field that's back there. I enjoy the wildlife that comes through it, and I would not want to have that destroyed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next. Anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, I'll ask the commission if they have any questions that they have about this.
Do you have any more copies of what you sent out that I can take home? Because I don't even know what's being 100% proposed other than a gas station, and you guys were saying there's more.
There should be some copies at the back table. Are they all done?
There isn't, so.
Okay.
Do we have the binder back there?
The binder should be back there with the information in it.
Everything that we have at our tables here should be in the binder there. It should
I
say
just
the
want something to take home, so I was just laughing at it, but, I mean, so all of a sudden people stood up and said, well, you know, I'm not gonna talk about the gas station, the liquor store. I'm like, that's all I know about.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Planner Stuff.
I would recommend that when we send letters out again, we will include some information with it, so everybody's very clear on what's not changing and what is changing.
It's also on our website.
Yes.
If you go under the meeting, the agendas, it's all on there too.
Where do you go on the website?
Yep, under meetings.
Meetings?
Yep, planning and zoning, and the whole packet is on our website. Yep.
Brandon Eber again. When you do send out mailings again, could you please correct them? The one sent out is not fully correct. The map included is totally incorrect with this proposal.
Okay, we'll double check that.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be light industrial right up against my property here, but you guys still have that as residential.
Where the gas station liquor store is proposed.
It doesn't even have
It's
anything
not
on it.
even red, it's
Yeah.
not red.
I assumed it was there from the description, but your map doesn't correctly show it.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that figured out and send that with the letters. And please feel free to call me too. We can include some information. I can answer any questions for the meeting as well.
So, Mr. Chair,
Mayor.
just to clarify, everybody, the entire packet that we have in front of us tonight is available on the city's website. On the city's website, do you have that?
The website address.
Yeah.
If you type in Nowthen, Minnesota, it's right on there. It'll pop up our website.
And take a look at meetings, planning and zoning. Information will be there, and it's been noted to have more complete information sent out with the second mailing that goes out before the next meeting.
I just found out about it, it's all over now, so.
Generally, these types of hearings, that happens. Somebody finds out. In this case, we realized that we had an error with the different PIN numbers. But generally, somebody comes up and found out at the last minute they were out of town or whatever it is. So again, we want people to feel comfortable interacting with government. You know, we do it so little that sometimes we feel defensive or at odds. We really want this to be a cooperative thing. We want everybody to be respected in expressing their opinions. And when we walk away, however it's decided, when we walk away, we want everybody to feel the process went well and that you were heard. And you know, it may not turn out the way everybody wants because everybody has different opinions, but we want the process to work. So we want people to feel comfortable expressing, asking questions. There's nothing to hide here. Our planner has said she's available for questions. If you haven't had interaction with the office, Lori is the one you'll see when you come in the office or call the office. So again, we're a small group. If we can't answer the questions, we'll get the answers and get back to people. Those of us on the council, in this deliberation, I am the liaison to the planning and zoning. I don't vote. That's why I'm not interacting as much. But the commission makes their recommendations, but the council members are available. All of us have emails and phone numbers that are readily available for additional questions or comments. The best place is to do it in public so the rest of the residents can hear and those council members that aren't here tonight can also see and hear what's going on. And if you have a question, I'll be directed to the chair.
Chair, I just have one quick question. I'm very familiar with the public format, the open public format. I've had school board meetings where we have up to 100 people speaking. My question is, as community members are coming up and speaking and asking questions, what is your format and protocol for responding and answering those questions? Because I know in different public entities, when I work with the county, when I work with school districts, and then when I work with cities, they all have different protocols, so I think that might be helpful for all of us to know what your protocol is.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I would suggest that I could answer a few of the basic questions, but I would really like to address each and every question before the next meeting. So that would be published online again before the next public hearing, so everybody can see the responses. Does that sound acceptable to the commission?
Yes, that'd be fine with me.
Just a couple things I wanted to say. Recently, the city has gone through 2 other comprehensive plan amendments that, one of which removed 80 acres of commercial industrial land from that land use plan, that 2030 land use plan. So the biggest question to the city right now is do we want to put that back somewhere? And you're right, I mean, we could place it up near where we already have commercial industrial, or the second option would be to place it in another portion of the city. The rezoning comes later, so remember we're doing just the land use at this point. Rezoning comes later. But when we look at commercial and industrial zoning, we only have 2 districts. One is C1 commercial, one is I1 industrial. And they're very similar in that we allow crossover between uses. So in the commercial district, for instance, we would allow a building that has retail in the front and warehouse in the back. Or vice versa. In the industrial district, we would allow warehouse in the back and some office or retail in the front. So just to clarify that. And then when we talk about zoning, we only can refer to what it is zoned. We can't specify the uses that go in other than what is listed as permitted and conditional uses in our ordinance. So in other words, if we were to rezone it C1, we could not say we don't want a gas station there. If the gas station were listed as a permitted use, it actually requires a special permit for the fuel facility, and maybe one other thing, but it requires a special permit. So we would not be able to deny that. And then just a reminder that the subdivision and development process is yet later. So we are out quite a ways. So just encourage you all to kind of follow this online for the next few months. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll continue on. The commission have any things they want to brought out this time? I will say this, that I'm concerned because we'll be working on a comprehensive plan. And I realize more could be added if this is accepted later on to the comprehensive plan, but I would think if we'd look at the comprehensive plan and get that where we want that, it'd be nice to do that if it's possible. I know the laws protects this, so we have to be very careful what we do. And that's the thing that we're looking at now, that some of us were under the opinion that this was an ordinance, and it's not an ordinance. So we have no control over it. In other words, the state dictates what can happen here. So if there's any more questions here in the planning or zoning, if there are any questions?
I have a question.
We'll wait, no, up for you guys later. Keep it. Any more questions for the planning and zoning? Seeing none, I'll open it back up to the public.
Okay, Lincoln Conley again. Just with that last comment, I'm confused now with what you're saying about that you don't make the determination, the state has it and what have you. I mean, what we're bringing up is this 2030 comprehension and where we came from, some of us residents from the 2009 proposed, and your goals and policies and what you want now then to be and what you don't want coming in. You're the body that make those decisions. Am I correct in that? Because what I just heard was we don't control it.
Well, there are certain mandates we have to follow. There's certain things we got to do. Would you want to address it?
Yes, the city does make the decision on the land use change. It has to be approved by Met Council. If Met Council disagrees with it for any reason, they can have us either amend it or deny that opportunity to change our land use plan.
I understand that, but at the heart of this comprehensive study and goals and policies is what everybody that sits on this planning commission board and zoning, whatever you want to call it, adheres to or wants to follow, correct?
Yes, those are our currently adopted policies and goals are what's in our 2030 plan, that's correct.
Okay. I'll summarize by what everybody's come up here and said numerous times. I think it covers the umbrella of this proposal does not meet any of those and is not in line with those goals and policies.
I have another thing to add. Tracy Conley, Clayton's wife, 9030 184th. We moved from Big Lake because our daughter was born hard of hearing, and the road we were on, way too busy. She can't hear that well. It's an issue. We came here in a quieter area, lower traffic volume. My husband came to a meeting and got the hard of hearing signs in the neighborhood, and I just want it on record so that you take that into consideration as well.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mayor.
just want to again take the opportunity to say this is a specific discussion on an amendment to the existing comprehensive plan. We are also in the process of updating our plan for 2040, and there will be additional public hearings. There will be open houses, and we'll be publicizing those. But again, I encourage people to participate, be active with those as well. What the entirety of Nowthen looks like going forward. Mr. Conley was correct that the comprehensive plan is our guiding document. These other things come down from that. And so what goes into the comprehensive plan and what's left out of the comprehensive plan is very critical to our development over the next period of time. So that is an opportune time to come to open houses and participate in public hearings to weigh in and to make sure that others, I mean, obviously this is a corner of our city and we have quite a lot of participation from there, but we do have 4,500 residents. And a lot of people moved out here for reasons that they need to express as we go forward with the decisions. Two separate issues. The discussion right now is on an amendment to the existing plan. The discussions in the months ahead will be, where do we want to go in our next plan? So, and again, we will do our absolute best to communicate those meetings and those opportunities. Again, now that we have the recording, if you can't make the meetings, you can at least check it out online and on our website.
Is there any other comments from the public here?
I have one. So David Johnson, 8863, 184th Avenue Northwest. So the property that's north and east of 22 and 47, that was zoned commercial. That is no longer commercial then?
North and east.
No, it is.
No, that's still remaining,
That's still commercial?
yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, the 80 acres that was spoken of previously, then when Planner Stockman mentioned that 80 acres came out, a homeowner bought a farm just down here on 5 and South 22, and they wanted that rezoned out of commercial back to rural residential ag. And they wanted that property for themselves, their horses, and their children. And so that, they paid for a comprehensive plan amendment, and went through the same process that was explained here, through the commission, through the Met Council, and through the neighboring interested parties, and it was agreed that they could go back to residential from commercial industrial. They currently abut commercial industrial, and they were part of the plan back when the township made that change a number of years ago. And so that's the 80 acres that came out. Everything on 47 that was designated commercial is still commercial.
So up north of 22, that's no longer commercial then?
It is commercial.
That is?
Someone else want to make a comment from the public?
Yeah, Kevin Feist, I live on 923 184th Avenue. I understand that I lived in Maple Grove, I got forced out of there. I come up to live in a rural community again. And my question is, everybody's talking about developing. I have no problem with that. It just seems like we can't stop the wheel. My question is, you want to put that gas station, you want to put a liquor store. Okay. What about gas, water, sewer? Nobody's ever addressed that yet. Are we going to have us rural people that have mound systems? Are we going to have to tie in to a sewer system after this? Has anybody got any questions for me or answers? That's my only question. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
And Mr. Feist, just so you know, there is an answer to that.
Okay.
And you can call the office or call the planner or call myself, and we can give you that separate from here. But at this point, there is no immediate plan for any sewer and water. We're outside that district at this point, and so that is not something that's being currently discussed anywhere in Nowthen.
So my question is, if Bill's, or the gas station gets, are they gonna have a mound system, or how is that gonna be tied in?
They will have to be responsible for their own septic and water, just as they are at Bill's up here. So.
Okay, anybody else?
Brandon Ebert again. Someone brought up removing the 80 acres that was just rezoned. I read up on that, and I saw that the east end of Burns Parkway may need some realignment, and they were talking about addressing it at this time due to setbacks to county roads being too close to each other or something. Am I correct in understanding that?
Would you like me to address that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was discussed as part of that overall land use change there. At the present time, the city council decided to leave it as is. The county, me and some members of the city council had met with Anoka County. They did not feel that that was critical to their overall transportation plan in realigning Burns Parkway. So we pretty much just dropped the issue for now.
Okay, and that would probably mute my next comment is, with this new development, is there gonna be any realignment to the other end of Burns Parkway? But it may be mute at this point.
It's kind of early to even consider, yeah.
Somebody that hasn't spoke, want to speak? If not, the lawyer has recommended we table this for legal reasons, so I'll entertain.
Continue.
Pardon me?
Continue.
Or continue, okay, okay, continue this meeting instead of table, the next month, and so I'd like somebody to make a motion that we do this, continue this meeting.
I will make a motion to continue this public hearing until July's meeting.
Commissioner Perro made a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I heard two of them, so I'll take Commissioner Wagner seconded it. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll go to the next item on our agenda. It has to do with the Bill Super conditional use permit for the addition of a new diesel pump island deviating from 5-foot parking setback. So it was sent back to us for some discussion here. So is there any discussion that the commission would like to take at this time on this? I know there was some concern about the cost, and what it's going to cost to do the drainage over there, and also if we put a road in to go to that frontage road from our parking lot. And who's going to pay for it?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I was not in attendance at the council meeting. I know we can get a lot of assistance on answering some of these questions from Mayor Pilon. But, yeah, this was just informational, so any questions you might have or comments would be, there's no motion needed tonight.
Okay, the comment I'll make to that, I don't see where the city should have to pay anything. That's my personal opinion. They should have to put the driveway in for us because it's to their advantage. We've got a driveway out now, so it doesn't help us at all. As far as the water drainage goes on that, it's handling it for us now until they made that into, they did some changes over there in that commercial lot. So I don't see where that should have anything to do with the city's expense. Some more comments?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mayor.
Just to clarify, we had a public hearing last month.
Yes.
And the council agreed because all the information wasn't in your hands at that meeting. And so the information has come in since then from the engineer and initial information from the county. And so the council was giving you an opportunity to weigh in on it. We're not having a second public hearing, but to evaluate some of the information that you didn't have in front of you last time. If you wanted to add any to the recommendation that you have already made to the council was to proceed. If you want to add any information, this is brought back for discussion. Because now you do have more information that you didn't have last time. Some of the commissioners were concerned that there wasn't enough information to make a decision or recommendation. So with the additional information, what points would you like to bring up for the council to discuss at our next meeting when we make our final decision? So this is an opportunity for the commission to have some additional information and give feedback.
Okay, I think the statements I just made had to do with a lot with the way the county wants to put in that turn lane out there. And they want us to put a driveway over to the road that Rademachers proposed to put in there.
That is one option. There does need to be a turn lane, which should be in front of the city's parking lot. And the county is unlikely to allow any driveway access into a turn lane. Turn lane will be going into the road going into the superette. And they would have a turn lane going south from there onto 22. So it would affect, that would likely affect our south driveway. Now the question is the driveway we have up to the north end of the parking lot sufficient?
For us?
It's a double wide driveway at this point. The concern would be cars at the far end of the parking lot being able to turn around and come back out this way. The other option is to tie into the new road servicing the gas station superette. And, you know, you're voicing your opinion, you'd rather not see the city pay for that. That's your opinion at this point, and we're looking for feedback from the commissioners as we look to make a decision here. So there was some concern Commissioner Wagner had on the trees. Commissioner Cleath had some concerns, a variety of concerns, having not seen the engineer's report or the county feedback yet. Those are available now, so if you have any additional information, having seen those, or additional comments.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, thank you. I guess my only comment is I wish we had updated plans, I guess, to go along with it. We still don't see what they are planning for landscaping, what trees would have to be removed. Are they gonna propose attaching our parking lot, or just saying that you're just gonna get it cut off and that's what's gonna happen? We don't have answers to those questions, I guess, because we don't have an updated set of plans.
I think you're ahead of the game on that, because I think the drainage problems need to be addressed, and also that holding pond needs to be addressed now. See, there's the elimination of that holding pond that is there now. And what is that all gonna do, and is that pipe gonna be big enough that goes underneath the road to handle that? And all that should be addressed at, who's gonna do what? And I don't know what the size of that pipe is right now. And if that pipe isn't big enough, that was one of John Harwood's babies there, so I suppose it's probably screwed up. About count on it.
I believe Shane commented, or the engineer commented that's undersized in the park property, but I'm not sure about what's underneath the county road. It's the county's.
Yeah, but see, all of that drains that whole thing, and then that, there's also a pond there, or a holding pond, that takes some of the moisture away from there, but there's a lot of water that comes out of that whole ballpark.
Yep.
And that all needs to be rectified probably at some point. And I'm not just sure who's responsible for all that, but I think the city did a really poor job with the engineer they had, because it's the only man I ever knew that tried to make water run uphill.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would just like to clarify that Mr. Rademacher did submit landscape plans. This is part of it. They show 4 new trees along the north property line. And I don't know why, but there was another kind of aerial photo that showed the remainder of the trees on the city parkland. So the landscaping is actually gonna go before the park committee for comment next, or this coming month.
Tomorrow?
Is that meeting? Yeah, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow.
Park and Rec meetings tomorrow at 7 o'clock right here. so.
Okay.
But I would think that would follow the drainage things and all that, because you can always put a tree in at any point. It's not a major issue, but that drainage should be took care of right away. How are you gonna figure that all out?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Rademacher, also, I just want you to know it's not any fault of his. I mean, the day after the meeting, city council meeting, he was in conversation with his engineers regarding the comments and trying to respond to the city engineer's comments. So he just doesn't have those plans back yet. He has been working on that, so. Everybody's busy. But I haven't seen him either, so nobody's seen him yet.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So just a question for the planner. We don't know what the stormwater runoff implications are yet then?
Right, his engineers, I guess we can pose that question to him if you have any more information or whether you're just still kind of waiting on.
Grant Rademacher with Bill Subretz. Plans will be back tomorrow. We got hung up with the county as usual, and we did get some calculations completed this afternoon. It doesn't look like our pond is going to be substantial enough. And with our septic fields as they sit now, we won't be able to enlarge our pond. So they had to go back and regrade the entire lot. I think it was per council, Mr. Mayor. Council wanted it to drain south instead of north, so those calculations had to be amended. I have a draft that I could show you, but I think I would just rather wait until tomorrow's plans are finalized by Carlson, and we'll submit them to Liz tomorrow. But a holding pond will be placed on Greenberg's old property, and then that whole road will be dipping to the south.
Oh.
And it'll be a holding pond on the south side of the road, so no more water will be added to the parkland. That's what I know for now. The turn lane is county specs. That was, that'll be drawn in. That was addressed in the plans. And the ribbon curve on the north side was replaced with 612 curve, drained to the south. I think that was addressed in the plan. The landscaping was submitted, so I think we're getting down there. There is a catch basin on the county right-of-way 10 feet from the center line, and the turn lane needs to be 12. So one of the issues that the engineers were hung up on today was how they moved that catch basin 2 feet. And that's the magic of engineering, that's out of my league. So they're working on that, and their commitment was tomorrow. They'd have something to see. Anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think we went about as far as we can go with the information you have available right now.
Mr. Chair, if I may add one more
Yes.
item. One of the other issues that was brought up by council was water running through the gas island into the storm and then west into our holding pond. Based on the changes of the grading, that will also then be flowing to the east, and there will be a snout, one of the underground holding tanks, so to speak. It's called a snout. Will be mounted into one of those catch basins prior to it hitting the pond. Catches debris, runoff, oil separator, things like that. So that'll also be addressed on the plans.
Mr. Jorgensen, got anything else to add there?
Like I say, we're about as far as we can go, with what we've got, until he gets the rest of the plans, and go from there.
Mr. Mullen, you got anything?
Nope.
Chair, do we need to make a recommendation then on the driveway, eliminating the south driveway and putting it into Bill's road driveway, or just eliminating it completely?
You may comment on it. There is no formal
Okay.
motion or recommendation.
Or the council then would?
They gotta act on it.
They will act on it.
They will act on it, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go to the next item. Item 4 here. And that has to do with the Greenwell Nuts Conceptual Subdivision Plan, 8301, 181st Avenue. Are they here tonight?
Mr. You are. Oh, they're both
Oh,
here.
there. Okay, I'd like to step up to the podium here.
Nowthen Greenwald, our legal address and ranch is 4741 153rd and Northwest. And we are talking about our property in Nowthen, 8301. And we're just looking at a minor subdivision, a simple lot split. That's all I know. It's my first time here doing this, so I don't know what else to tell you.
So is this your lot split idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So they have sort of a phase 1 and phase 2 as was shown on the concept. The westerly 40 acres, they would like to split off the, like 2 10-acre pieces. One would be the farmstead piece, and sell those and then move forward with the second phase at a later date. So they just wanted you to comment on the layout here. There is the connection, there is currently a dead-end street or a stub road up in Wild Run Estates. And when we sat down with Shane Nelson, the city engineer, in looking at this whole concept, he was indicating how costly and not very feasible that wetland crossing would be to get down into what will be the Greenwald's property. You say Kuntz is the? Kuntz, okay. So that's why there's a regional map included, which shows how a north-south connection would be made further to the east. I forget the street name. So it just really wasn't feasible to make a subdivision on the Greenwald's property work without looking for another option for that north-south street connection on Zenolith rather than at 185th Avenue. Even though the previous intention was to run 185th Avenue south all the way to 181st, or to continue it somewhere down in that vicinity. And I forget, I don't know what year that concept, or the Wild Run Estates plat was approved, or, you know, what type of wetland requirements were at the time, but I'm not sure it was completely, you know, thought out or looked at, but at any rate, I think it's a really good alternative, and they're just looking for your feedback so they can move forward with a minor subdivision as their first step.
Now they're looking at the second step also, right?
Not at this point, sir.
Not at this time.
Oh, okay, okay.
You can comment on it if you'd like to.
On the minor subdivision, you bought that property for lot number 1 then, or?
I bought the entire farm 12 years ago.
Oh, okay. But it talks about adding something on there, doesn't it?
Oh, no, he has not purchased he's talking about the little piece.
Oh, no, I have not. As a matter of fact, we don't even know that, I think the gentleman's first name is Greg, that's like, no, the property owner to the west.
Okay.
This is what this is referring to.
Okay. So you're asking for a minor subdivision for 2 and 4 and 3, right?
Yes, sir.
And then, are you gonna come in later, to try to get it in 1 also?
The second phase later?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How
Are
many,
you asking if we're gonna come back, because if we can buy that extra?
Yes.
Okay,
If we can.
if we can get that, yes, we would prefer to do that option.
See, they can get an extra lot, because they need the 300 feet of
Yeah.
frontage, or lot width. So, that hasn't been completely decided yet. It's shown as an option.
Does this have to be cited before they get to a minor subdivision, or?
Oh, yes, they'd have to get a survey and come back through you, unless they wait for the amendment that we may talk about, or that may move forward next month.
Okay.
But, oh yeah, they would have to come back as everyone does at the present time.
what does that apply now on, there used to be a rule on that if you made a minor subdivision, the same owner couldn't come back until you had, I believe it's 5 years or something?
It can't be split twice by the same owner, so
Right.
once they go through the minor subdivision, then they have to come back and plat everything else.
That's right.
Yeah, and they are aware of that, so.
So in other words, they wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
add on that lot?
No, they can do 3 lots in a minor subdivision, and then later on, they would do a formal preliminary and final plat for the rest.
Going back to the east.
Okay. Am I understanding that right? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Wagner.
I guess I had a question. What are the sizes of these lots, 8 through 11?
They're intended to be about 2.5, but it's, the lot count may vary up or down by 1 or 2.
And you got an average of 5?
An average of 5, yeah.
4 is a lot bigger.
Is that about a 60 acre that they're trying to get 11 lots out of? Is that?
This is about, let's see, yeah, close to it, so, this one's 40,
Yeah, there's a total of 80 acres, 240, so what we're looking at doing, what Liz and I and my wife are proposing, initially, the minor subdivision is just to the west of the homestead, and then the rest to the east would be later in the future.
so you're looking at 13 total lots on the 80 acres. And you're allowed up to 16. But with the wetland there, obviously, they can't get as many. Is this just a proposal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I can keep track here, we've got an exhibit number on that. Exhibit D, an aerial photo with red lines on it, showing lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. The exhibit just prior to that shows lots 1, 2, and 3, and then the projected future. Which lots are we talking about here for minor subdivision?
It would be the homestead with 10 acres, and then another 10 acres to the west, so we're talking everything here from the homestead to the west.
And so on the exhibit, might be exhibit C here, just ahead of D.
Right.
We're looking at lots 1 and 2.
Correct.
Like 10 acres each.
Correct.
So that's the only discussion right now.
Well, exhibit D is an alternative where they gain an additional lot. So, yes, you should just be commenting on, well, you can comment on any of it, but the first phase will just involve the minor subdivision on that 40-acre piece.
On Exhibit D, is that what we're seeing there, short of the additional to the west there? Is that 40 acres, 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Yes. But, yeah, that
So
only
2 and
works.
3 are no longer 10-acre parcels.
No, they still are there, but they're acquiring, they would have to acquire additional land to make Exhibit D work. If they cannot acquire the additional piece, then they're only gonna get 3 lots initially out of the 40 acres.
Okay, so there is a parcel
That-
east of the farmhouse.
Yes.
So there's actually 3 parcels.
Right.
And if they could get that property to the west, they would make it into 4.
Correct.
And the minor subdivision is how many?
Minor subdivision is 3 lots. So, yeah, it depends how it pans out, whether they can get that or not. They still might only be able to do 3 lots under the minor subdivision, but they can accomplish,
Just on a larger lot.
selling a larger lot and then splitting it as part of the plat later.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
would this minor subdivision then be subject to the parks dedication, trail dedication?
Yes.
Has there been a proposal for that?
Well, this is just a concept, so when they come back through with their actual survey,
They'll do a proposal.
yes.
Okay.
So I did mention that in the memo though, so they were aware of. Does everybody agree that the kind of the regional road configuration appears reasonable? I mean, it's always subject to county review again on to 181st. But as far as providing overall access to the region there, and we get one north-south connection, which is tough to do with our wetlands.
And that's just this, right?
I'm gonna do this one over here in the future.
The bigger picture,
So this would connect up into here.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is 185th.
correct.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mayor.
So on that concept for the regional road, obviously that's on property that isn't owned by the Greenwalds.
Correct.
So I don't know that that property owner has any idea that we'd be talking about the concept through their property.
This is Joni Greenwald, and that's my mom's.
Good house.
The property that's connected is my mother's who's bought, it's gonna be, really would be inheriting it, or we have the option to buy it from them.
All the way up to 185th?
The 40 acres of hers.
Yeah, the entire 40 acres to the east of the homestead.
So he's talking about.
I'm talking about the Paulson
You said that was
property.
yours?
No,
The piece I'm talking about.
he's talking about the land that's off
West.
your property, yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
in other words,
The Greg guy I was talking about.
these people aren't aware that
Correct.
this is a conceptual plan.
I'm talking about the Paulsons.
Oh, Paulson's, no, Paulson's is, I'm sorry, what was your question with the Paulsons?
I said, that just so we have a concept plan drawn here, I'm guessing the Paulsons have never seen that.
Correct.
And they would own the 80, at least the 80 in there, I don't know how much
To the
they
east
get.
of ours, yes.
So where that road's coming north off of Xenolite, that party is not here, part of this discussion. That's just a concept plan that the city would have to, a more reasonable north-south connection instead of the wetlands going up to 185th through Wild Run East.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to add that, yes, it's just conceptual, it's something that could work, it's not that it's set in stone. And obviously, if the Paulsons have to request a subdivision in order to move forward with anything. If you're okay with it, you can just make a motion that the Greenwalds move forward with the survey and come back before you through the minor subdivision process.
I have one question.
Sure.
What is the ongoing plan for the buildings that could potentially be really close to property lines?
I'm sorry, Kelly.
The property lines?
Yes.
The buildings that are going to be close to property lines, what is your guys' process for that?
Are you talking about the existing buildings?
Mhm.
Like the farmhouse? The ones that are to the right, utility, the one under the red, those ones are gonna stay with our property. And we can't really move the other buildings. They're existing.
It is, that's what I just asked.
Perlas, we have plenty of room for those buildings. Is there an issue with that?
I just was wondering what they're gonna be, I mean, once they
They're
get,
the same.
yeah.
We always try to achieve the setback, the 20-foot setback.
That's my concern too, that that's probably not gonna be met.
It looks like some may end up on an adjoining piece, which would be okay. If they wanted to try to save them, if the buildings were worth saving, they could possibly request a setback variance when they come through, but it's up to them.
That barn was much nicer when it had a roof.
That's all torn down now
Is it?
and hauled away.
Yeah, the side was gone.
Yeah,
Too bad, that was a nice barn.
it was. Yeah, you're absolutely
I
right.
liked it.
It was two nice guys that lived there too.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Wagner.
Liz, this concept of running two roads through the neighboring properties, does that work well with this property, or should this be just one thoroughfare?
Yeah, it could certainly be one. This is just a concept that the city engineer had worked up roughly. I was questioning also whether they had adequate lot depth there to achieve back-to-back lots, but we'll have to check that out when we get an actual survey.
That was my concern, I guess, because then with this is, this road would curve up and have one through the center. It might end up costing them a lot, is the real question.
Possibly so, yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot to dictate through a neighboring parcel, to have two roads running through it, so.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, cost-wise is what you're
Yeah.
thinking too.
Yeah.
The burden of having.
Yeah, having two roads for them.
Yeah, you might want some extra depth along 181st anyway.
Yeah, it goes backing up to 181st, yeah.
There's stops.
Their property ends right here, but basically there'd be kind of dead ending, basically two roads towards this property. And my thought is that would it be that you're putting the burden on this guy to build two roads in the
Right.
future, or you better off putting one in the middle.
This is the land they're saying that they're acquiring?
No.
No,
No.
this one,
This one, oh, okay.
yeah. They own this and they have,
This
I
is
could get
Paulson.
home right here.
yeah, this is the Paulson piece that they're
Okay.
talking about, yeah.
Okay. And that just comes into play when somebody purchases.
If they want to develop this in the
Right.
future, yeah.
Any other comments? Mr. Jurgensen.
Minor subdivision down there, she talks about a 4-lot concept, can't be done. It's only 3 on the minor, right?
Right.
But it says 4 here.
Well, one would be with the 4 for the,
You couldn't do it that way, that's not the way you develop land. That wouldn't work.
they'd have to,
It only can be a 3.
yeah, they'd have to split the other one as part of the plat.
You know, and where that is, it wouldn't work. 'Cause that'd be over here and the rest of it's over here. So you'd have to do that right away almost, and you wouldn't be able to run a minor subdivision if you did that 4 lots.
If you added the land to the
Right.
west.
Because it wouldn't connect with that other one. It should be all done at one time, really, as far as that west end of it. I guess I got a little bit better idea of what goes on there, because I've been over the land from years ago, many times, so.
Is there any place you haven't been over in Nowthen?
They have a lot of hay in Nowthen. Some places I shouldn't have been.
Well, whatever we need to do to comply, that's, we're not asking for any exceptions.
It's just cheaper when you do a minor subdivision. It's much-
That's
much-
good, I'm all for that.
And we're trying to make it even cheaper with some amendments to our ordinances here. But Harold is right, it's gotta be contiguous to your plot, your platting.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, call for a motion to proceed with it?
Is there any public comment on this?
No.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So this is not a public hearing yet. They're simply asking for a concept. You know, is this a reasonable thing to do? They got some feedback as to how they can split the lots legally, and then they'll work with the planner on what the next steps are. Nothing's gonna go forward until they come up with a formal proposal, and then that will come back through the normal process. Again, pay attention to our videos, and I should have said this when everybody was in here. If you want to know what's on the city agenda for city council meetings, for planning and zoning, park and rec, road and bridge, you can contact city offices and get put on the list, and they will send that out to you electronically each month. So, those of you that watched the planning and zoning meeting earlier, get on the list, because that way you can always keep updated with what is coming before our committees, commissions, and council. We like to keep people informed. We don't like surprises, and residents generally don't either.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I'd just like to mention that in this case for the minor subdivision, that's not a public hearing, so the letters would not go out to the neighbors on that one. You just have to look online.
Okay, my comment would basically be to the planning and zoning commission. I'm not against the split. I take it as a residential resale for residential rebuild.
Correct.
My comment is traffic wise, do we have the current county traffic counts that was just placed out last week? Have you received those back?
No, but the last I heard, about 4 years ago, that in a 24-hour cycle, there's about roughly 3,000 cars that roll out.
My only concern is the 181st and Baugh is a racetrack. And they're just a little bit further down 181st. So it's gonna be a racetrack in front of all these properties too. So traffic does need to be addressed in this area.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I'm an archer. That's why we own that property in the first place.
Yep, and my husband and I live on 185th.
And
I can tell you it's a racetrack even on 185th.
Yeah,
With lots of kids living there.
And the Ramsey Police Department is aware of it. they park on one of my accesses trying to catch people.
Actually, the south side for ours is Rams and north side.
So you're coming in on 180.
No, 181st.
So maybe stoplights.
Okay, should we proceed here? Somebody would like
I
to?
always want to say for the record, Mr. Chair, we often make comments here and sometimes in jest, and then we go out on the campaign trail and say, you want stoplights on 181st? He was just kidding. I don't have any stoplights. I've learned to remind people we're being facetious. These meetings get long, let's add a little humor, so. But, yeah, that is a county road, and you know, county roads aren't gonna get any less busy. You know, that is the through road to Elk River, and so, but it is zoned residential, it is zoned properly for what you wanna do here, so.
Mr. Chair, I did find out that the 2015 traffic count was 7,200 cars per day.
On 181st? Wow.
That's just about as much as the spread over here in 22. It's about 10,000, isn't it?
Now, a portion of those may cut up off, you know, so it might not be quite as many going by your place.
You're talking about from Baugh over to Elk River?
I believe that's where the count was.
There's gonna be a lot more traffic there than,
It's escaping the scale, they call that.
yeah, you'd think the highway department would know that.
They do.
Okay, we're still at the point, entertain the motion to proceed.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So what they're really asking is you're not making necessarily a recommendation other than the concept and to let the Greenwalds further develop with you. I mean, there's nothing that we have to decide on at this time.
Okay.
Am I correct?
That's correct, yep.
Nothing at this time, okay. Okay, we'll let it go then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a good night.
Thank you for your patience.
The next thing is the fifth on our agenda, the Nowthen landscape plan, 85952 201st Avenue. And we'll review and make comments of the revised landscape plan as required under the approved conditional use permit. Stockman.
Mr. Chair. As part of the CUP approval, it was a requirement that the plan come back to you for review. It will also be on the city council agenda. I made that determination because you are a recommending body, and just for the record, I think the city should approve it one way or the other, so it will be on the city council agenda as well. It looks really good to me. I did meet with a couple of the gals that worked on this new plan. They worked with a nursery to generate what they wanted. They'll still have most of this donated and volunteers installing it in sort of phases. They'll do the part that screens the parking lot and the east side first, and then they'll work on the areas around the building. So our ordinance requires a combination of evergreens and deciduous plants. So I looked at the overall picture, and in that light, they do meet the requirements for both numbers of plants as well as a mix of evergreens and deciduous.
Anybody have any comments?
They do.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Setup.
Who actually would verify this?
Verify,
That they do this?
well, it's
I mean, is that part of the building
Lori.
department?
It is,
She's had planning experience.
yeah, before they get their certificate of occupancy,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
I
just,
would-
just curious.
I
I
usually-
trust them.
I usually talk with Andy and say, you know, is there anything outstanding, and, yeah,
Ms. Stockman?
yes.
I'm also wondering, you said stages. There wasn't really anything stated in here for stages.
Well, it's sort of, you know, they'll be doing it as they get volunteers and as they get plants donated, so they're kind of looking at easy maintenance. There's really no edging, they'll just kind of mulch everything so that they can mow right around it, and, but like I said, they're gonna focus on the screening of the parking lot from the view from 201st, and then the evergreens along the east lot line. But they have no real timeline, you know, to get these, well, I shouldn't say no timeline, but we would, you know, they are doing things a little slower than normal due to the large number of volunteers they have. But that's fine.
This would be part of their CO, right? The landscaping?
Yeah, we could, we'll take a look at what's done and what's left to be completed when, you know, when they get their CO.
Okay.
I don't know that we would deny their, use of the building if the landscaping weren't in. We had a conversation about escrow for landscaping and grading type things with the city council a while ago, and they opted not to, require that of residences or, other properties to my knowledge, so, you know, it's,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mayor.
just to clarify, what you're saying is we have to, not to do that, not just for this property, but any property at this point.
correct, right.
There was a question on landscaping, and when you got large lots out here, and, you know, we're gonna escrow for certain things, and we decided at this point, no. And they just happened to fall under that, so it wasn't something specifically decided for this church, but in general, we don't require an escrow for that in Nowthen.
Not even for the situation as it being a church versus a residential home?
It didn't come up specifically for this, but the general decision was not to.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Sena.
We have landscape requirements for a commercial development or, a commercial building going in. Do we give them a timeline or anything there that they need to have it completed by a certain amount of time, or?
It would have had to have been in the conditional use permit.
So we're not treating them any differently?
We're not treating them any differently at this point. Yeah, you know, if, actually, the city engineer and I were kind of pushing for an escrow so that we could ensure that driveways are installed, or, you know, and other things get done correctly, especially final grading and landscaping. We have a lot of erosion issues you see when you drive around looking at new homes. But, nonetheless, I mean, it's the city council's decision, and they chose not to act on it at this time. They felt that it was a financial burden to ask people to submit that extra money when, you know, they kind of need all their funds when they're constructing a residence or whatever. But we can put timelines in our CUPs. This one did not include that.
Mr. Chair?
Mayor.
And just again, as a recommendation, as all of you get more and more experience, these are the things you want to keep in mind as you're developing CUPs, IUPs. What doesn't get in there is pretty hard to enforce. What does get in there, you want to make sure it's not so restrictive, people don't want to build out anymore. And part of the concern on something like this on all properties, if you're going to add escrow on top of escrow, is it was getting fairly expensive to build out here. So we have that balance of, you know, how do you make sure we get things done, but don't make it so prohibitive to get out here. And that's what you're all gonna grow in as you encounter more of these. Okay, what happened last time, what did we learn, and how do we wanna do it differently next time? And I encourage you, you're our commission, so be aggressive in your questioning, but remember, we wanna make it nice for people and affordable for people to live out here. That's the balance we enforce.
Chairman,
It's Commissioner Burrow.
I guess my question is I understand what Pilon is saying, but I'm also, are they residential or are they commercial?
They're non-residential,
Yeah.
so churches can locate in the residential zone.
Yeah, but they're
But we-
non-residential.
They're public or semi-public, yeah.
Non-profits.
Land use wise, they're, yeah, public,
They don't pay taxes.
right.
That's where you put them under. Non-profits.
Now, in this case, sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
they probably still have a balance on their CUP, from their CUP escrow. So if you wanted to recommend that the city hold on to that until the landscaping is done, but, you know, there will be no more review time following this plan. So, I'm not sure I could figure out or find out how much is remaining.
You say there's money in escrow yet for that?
I think there is, because I do believe there is, because knowing that they would come back with the landscape plan, we didn't close it out.
Just for your information, you know, the Finnish were one of the few people that paid their World War II debts.
Who was?
Finnish
Finnish?
people,
Oh.
yeah. The country of Finland, right, they paid their debts, and where, like England and France and the rest of them did not pay their debts. But the Finnish did. Owen, to be pretty honest.
And if you haven't met the Estadian Lutherans yet, you'll understand the Finnish. Ever been to the bake sale here at the City Hall? It's,
They're gonna continue the bake sales even if they get the billing up, they were telling me. They'll get certified their kitchen over there and they'll continue it.
I can't afford bake sales after the farmer's market.
So, I have a question. When you talk about they met all their requirements, do they go above and beyond their requirements at all, or are we just?
Yeah, they have more plants proposed than they're required to put in, yes.
I understand this is just as for review and that we're supposed to make any recommendations. I don't see anything that needs any change.
Don't we have to accept this, make a motion to accept this?
I would make a recommendation to accept it to the city council, and then I'm gonna have them approve it because.
It has been on our list for a while.
Yeah, I'm just glad, yeah, we're getting it done.
Although if they plant anything like they get plants done, it might be a little bit longer. But don't ever come over and look at my landscaping. It's horrible.
Okay, do we have a motion? Somebody like to make a motion to accept this plan here, send to the city council?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Commissioner Jurgensen made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Moen has made the second. Any discussion? Discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go down to item 6, ordinance amendment. Lot line configuration, lot splits. Discussion of possible amendment to Nowthen subdivision orders to allow a lot rate configuration and some lot splits to be approved by administration. Some cities do it this way, and some people, they leave it with the planning commission.
Well, correct. It was, I presented this to the council as a means of reducing costs for the residents. We tend to have a lot of minor subdivisions and a lot of lot reconfigurations. So they felt it was a good idea to send it back to you to try to direct me to draft language that might allow this. So I've attached some examples from other communities, and there's just a whole host of variety. I I think a couple critical things would be, what I mentioned in the cover letter, which if we were to allow a minor subdivision, some cities say it can only involve 2 lots or the creation of 1 new lot. Some cities would allow it to the maximum extent, meaning 3 total lots. What I would recommend is that it's a situation where streets are not required. So I would only be approving minor subdivisions when streets are not required. If they involved any streets or extension of streets, then I would bring it back to you for comment on that configuration.
Going back to the cost, what has been the cost roughly of like a lot split?
Well, so they have the same,
Because we know they're gonna have to pay for the survey.
right,
That's a given,
that's a given.
yep.
So it
And then we
was,
gotta get your time in there, how much you've been charging them, see, we gotta know that too.
right, so it was $200 to the city plus $1,000 escrow, and many times I would reduce the escrow to 500, knowing that the review is just a couple hours or so, you know. Sometimes when you meet with them and then write the memo or whatever, and then the planning report and the graphics take the extra time to present that to you. So what I proposed was, that was at the regular rate, $120. So in this scenario, I'm proposing that I would drop down to my zoning administration rate, which is $60 an hour. So that cuts the review time basically in half. The review cost, the survey cost would be what it was or is, so that's a given, like he said.
So approximately what would the cost be for a lot split then?
Before it was, I would estimate, average of 300 to 400 maybe, and so I'm guessing it might be closer to 200, 250.
That's quite a bit of difference.
We used to pay 50, I know. And you had to come in with your registered survey of the, and that was on top of that, of course.
Right. Well, what you could do is you could set a standard amount like 200 and just say that 200 for everybody. In some cases, it might take me less time. In some cases, it might take more, depending, it's kind of a risk you take.
But then, when you get one that say needs some road worker in there, that could bump that sucker up to maybe $1,500 easy enough if you've gotta put roads in and do all that,
But she wouldn't take those, you'd bring those back to planning and zoning, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that was, it had to come back to P and Z, yep.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend too, is that you get a chance to comment on the road alignment.
So there you go, Dale, now you can toss that around and see what you think is a good idea and a bad idea there.
Well, it'd be a lot less money if we go that route where I don't know if you go with flat rate or.
For the people that live along a main road, and they just wanna develop the stuff along the road, it's a pretty cheap deal, So,
What do you think, Commissioner Whitner?
I guess as far as a lot line reconfiguration, I don't see why that couldn't be done administratively. For the ones that we've seen lately, it's been nothing, as long as they're still meeting setback requirements, lot frontages, they still have to meet all that. And a lot line reconfiguration, I guess I don't see any reason that has to come before the planning commission, that they can save the money for that. As far as a lot split, I guess I can see creating one lot or one, if somebody wants to split it 20 into 2 10s and it has road frontage, I guess I don't see why that necessarily would have to come to us either. Anything more than that, I should come to us, whether it's a 3-lot subdivision, minor subdivision, or anything having to do with the street that involves a new street. So basically just a simple lot split or a lot line reconfiguration, and it could be done administratively. And, save us a lot of time and save the residents money.
What do you think of that, Mayor, his addition?
You're the commission.
No, but I mean,
I think that, I mean, that's what you're having a discussion on, you know, what would you recommend, what makes sense? You want, the council is interested in reducing costs to residents. And that's really what we're looking at here. So what's the combination? I think that one of the things Planner Stockman put in the letter to you is you have to determine the threshold. Commissioner Wagner saying he'd like to see it be simple lot lines and simple splits. Anything when you get up to 3, a minor subdivision, he'd like to see come back. That's what we're really asking. You guys did. And feel free, again, not directing anybody, but you can table this, have a hearty discussion now, read through the documents that Liz gave you if you haven't thoroughly read them yet, and come back with, we're really looking for, where's the threshold? At what point do we say at this, when we get to this level or this complexity, it has to go through this process. Up until this time, it's administrative. And then what is the administrative? Does that still incur the planner's activity at a lower rate? And she writes up a summary for you, or the planner writes up the summary for the council, and it doesn't have to go through the commission, but these things you want to see come through the commission for discussion. And what I would recommend you think about is think of some of the things that we've gotten tripped up on in recent years, what looked like simple lot splits, but the setbacks weren't there, or the property lines weren't properly delineated. You know, things that you want to make sure that from an administrative standpoint, those are covered. So that you don't have later when somebody goes to develop the land saying, wow, you know, what happened with this original lot split? So you still want to make sure that there's planner involvement to catch those questions, but how do we reduce that cost? So what's the threshold where it comes to you, it doesn't come to you, and what are the requirements of those that don't come to you so that you don't have problems later when the bigger development comes in? You want to make sure that the planner has clear direction, because you're not going to be seeing those minor splits anymore, or the simple splits anymore. If you want to say minor is up to 3, and it can still be administrative, that's what you're discussing.
Mr. Chair.
yes.
Just in not having a lot of history of all this, how many minor splits have come before the commission in the past that have been either denied or contentious or?
We haven't denied many, but let's just say they are oftentimes not simple. They may have had, well, I shouldn't say they're not necessarily hard to resolve, but they resulted in issues from the past, for instance, not requiring a survey in the past, where you've got, we had one where the septic system was over the lot line, or buildings are over the lot line, or people need to buy, a quarter of an acre to get up to 5 so they can have a horse, or, whatever it might be.
It's probably been more cleanup than
Yeah, it's kind of
denial.
a cleanup thing.
It's, the fence was here, and everybody thought that was the property line, and it wasn't. And so it takes some.
A good example is right down here. I believe it's 191st, and I think there were at one point there that every house was one lot off. As you went down
There's a lot of that in Minneapolis.
oh yeah, but it's not a difficult, just about like the graveyard, We had trouble in the Nowthen, even in our graveyard. So now when you buy a lot in there, it's like this. Everybody, you stop here, the next guy comes, you stop right there and you go on. That's the way that's done, so you don't make a mistake.
Oh, funny.
But that's how it works, and one of your biggest questions on lot splits is gonna be, this way the county has been fooling around with this here center of the road business, see? And some of them will end up being like 4.5 8 acres or something like that, or 4.88, and they'll be a little short. Okay, that might make a discussion, because the simple thing was, maybe the 40 to begin with was 9 foot short and 7 foot short over here to begin with, so you didn't have a whole 40 to deal with. And we had some town board members that would not bend 1 inch. But they had it in their head that had to be exactly 5 acres. And that's where there should have been a little, you know, because I bought 140, and there was a original lot took out of it, and that one was only 4.8 acres. And the reason that lot was sold out of it was that in the all 1970s, you couldn't buy a house with 40 acres on it and get it financed. But you could buy, and what had happened, the town board says, we'll just divide it up, 8 lots on that 40, and that's what it came out to be, was 4.88 acres. And so that's why they did it that way. And then when the next council or town board come along, there were some renegades on there, and they did not want to bend nothing. And so I've got a parcel that's got a 7 foot jog in it from one lot to the next lot over. And officially, it doesn't show up in any of our maps. Usually it doesn't. But on the survey itself that's registered with the county, those are dead 5 acres. I mean, they're right on to the center of the road. But it shouldn't have really been, because now when I get down to the 8th lot, if that ever happens, I'm not gonna have an 8th lot. Because I'll be short that, you know, 0.12 off of each one. And legally, it wasn't my fault that they screwed up originally when they laid out these 40s. And I think there was one tonight here, there's 38 something, there's quite a few 38 acre 40s around here.
That's the majority, yeah,
Yeah.
38, 39.
Yeah.
Very few are 40.
Yeah.
There's
And
some that are 41.
Yeah, well, depending on where that correction line comes in there, but there's quite a bit to be learned about, you know, what you should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing on that, but, I know the one, we divided up, we put 2 of them at 4.8 acres, because it'd make nice just to have a straight line across the back of them. Wouldn't do it, they wouldn't pass it, so then we had to go when we didn't know survey it, it actually just got put on paper, that's what it did. They didn't require it to go resurvey it, just put it on paper that it was a full 5 acres because of that. And see, now, when the county sends you your tax statement, it's not from the center of the road, they go in from the easement off. And if you have a 40, you're not really getting a 40 to begin with. And so the county's rules and the city's rules kind of get walled up together. And if you get right down to it, why, it's kind of discriminatory is what it amounts to.
How could we handle something like that, Liz?
Well,
What did we end up, you and I had some heated discussion about that.
yeah, we've
Remember
gone
that?
round and round.
That's why they
here.
sit across the room now. We used to sit next to each other.
I thought we've kind of addressed that, haven't we?
Yeah, I will read you the change that we made for.
Yeah, and I'm not just sure we
It's a
got
nominal
far
for
enough
40, I
yet.
think is what we came up with. It's a
But
nominal
yeah,
40.
we're close, if you know what I mean. But when anybody's departing of some land, it still should be figured from the center of the road, because that's the way that it was bought, you know. It shouldn't be this here reduced amount, because then you end up, everybody, when we got this 5 acre thing, you're done short, you know. And it's discriminatory is what it is, because the guy on the correction line, he's probably got a 42 acre lot, so he's okay. But he's only on the northwest corner usually.
And he doesn't know it, so.
All on the west, all on the west, should be all on the west and the north sides of the township, yep.
But that's
Large or
things
small.
that, you know, if you've experienced them, you know how it works and what the real reasoning behind it is.
Well, and I want to note that even if somebody has a 4.8 acre lot outside of the right of way, we always give them the benefit of the doubt to the center of the road. For instance, if you need 5 to have an interim use permit, we do give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well,
But,
That's been our practice.
yeah, that's been our practice.
but the people that we have had in recent years have been much more understanding on that than the ones we had previously on there. You know, they just wouldn't give nothing. I mean, they were just like two mad bulls. I'm not mentioning any names either, so.
Well, we amended it somewhere, I just can't find it.
Do we want to table this so people can think about it, or what?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think?
Is that a motion, or is that a?
Well, the
What is
ones that are, yeah, more difficult, like I think we should hang on to, and the ones that, like was said, that are quite, you know, let's go with it. That's my opinion.
I do agree with what Wagner had to say. I mean, if it meets all of the requirements and it is a simple, you know, split or a reconfiguration and it meets all the requirements without any questions, why should we have to review it?
I would recommend that you allow me to at least draft something that we have a kind of a starting point. And I do like the 2 lots, so we're only creating 1 new lot. It is not involving the creation of new streets or alteration of